Hello and welcome to another episode of Design Direction with me, Joseph Berry. And in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at how to build this homepage. Now, as you can see, there's a lot going on, so I'm going to try and break this down as best as possible. We're going to be looking at a range of animations and interactions, which include this really nice text animation by TweenMax, as well as this really cool rollover interaction, as well as this very unique open and close menu, as well as, just to push it a bit further, we're going to be looking at this split page design. Now, as you can see, I've already built and designed this template, which I will be publishing on my Webflow account. And don't forget, guys, if you like this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. So let's get into the fun part. Now, jumping into Webflow, what we need to think about first before we start on this is the build is quite complex in terms of working out how we get this sliding motion to work. So I'm going to try and break this down as best as possible. And don't forget, obviously you can dive into this project once it's done and have a look at some of the core fundamentals. Now, moving in, let's grab our first div and drop it in. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to call this sticky container 1. Now, as you may have already seen, I've already got classes in here from the other version that I have built, and I'm going to be building this out again fresh for you guys. So sticky container, what we're going to do with this is we're going to set the width to 100%, and we're going to set the height to 300 viewpoint height. Now, the reason we're going to set this to 300 viewpoint height is we're actually scrolling through 3 panels of 100 viewpoint height. So we're actually going to look at this bit a bit later on down the line, but this is just so we know what's going on. Then all I'm going to do with this is just set it to relative. Moving into the next section, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop another div, and we're going to call this content parent 1, and we're going to set the width to 100%, and then we're going to set the height to 100 viewpoint height. We're going to make sure that overflow is hidden, and we're also going to put it on relative. Now we need to build the right and left columns, or the left and right columns. So let's drop that in. We're going to drop the first one in, drop the first div in. We need to go back to the content parent and just make sure that this is on flex. We don't need to change any of the alignments. Just keep this. We're going to get this first div. We're going to call this col left. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set this to expand. So now we have col left. We're going to duplicate this. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the height to 100%. That is quite important that we set that to 100%. And then what we need to do, if we just look at the layers panel, we need to just change this one. So we're going to duplicate. We're going to change it to right. Now we have col left and col right. Now going back to the design or the actual page that we've built, what we need to look at is each of these has a section. So we need to individually break the left and right up into sections. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to drop in another div called section 1 left. And what this is going to be is 100% width and 100 viewpoint height. We've got that first one in. That's great. We're also going to set this to relative, and then same again like last time. We're just going to copy this and we're going to paste it into the other side. So now we have it into the other side. Oh, not into that. Sorry, into col right. We're going to paste it into col right. So we've got col left, section 1, col right, section 1. But what we need to do to this is duplicate, and you would have guessed it, change it to right. So we have section 1 left, section 1 right, and then we also have col left and col right. So now we've done that, we can now start to drop in our content. So the first bit we're going to do is we're going to select this section 1 left, and we're just going to drop our first image in. Cover, center, no repeat. And we go to the section right, and we're going to put a color on it. And now we've got the start of that layout. Now there's one thing that we can do here just to check that this is still working, to make sure that we've built this section out right, is if we select section 1 left and just Apple C and Apple V to copy it, and just have a look where that element is sitting. Now that element is sitting underneath where we want it to be, which is good. So we know that when we create the other sections, they're all going to be sitting underneath each other, which is good. Just a little way of testing, and we're good to move on to the next part. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select section 1. We're going to just check that we're on relative, which we are, which is great. We're going to drop a div into section 1 left, and then we're going to call this content copy, and we're going to set the width to 100%, and we're going to select this to absolute. Then we're going to move this down to the bottom, so we're going to fix this to the bottom, and we now have our content parent, which is holding that. Now what I'm going to do for the speed of this tutorial is I'm just going to go into the one that I've already built, and I'm just going to copy and paste these over into the document. And I'm just going to go here, and I'm just going to copy that, go back here, I'm going to copy that, and the last element, which is the arrow, copy that, which is great. Then we need to select this content copy, and we just need to put some paddings on it. So we're going to go 60 pixels and 60 pixels again. So now we've got that left side pretty good. We're going to go over to the right side, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set this on flex, and we're going to go center, center. So all of our elements will sit bang in the middle there, which is what we want. Now going back to the design, what we need to look at is the layering of this. So we have the text behind, then we have the bottle back, and then the bottle front. So this is just done with absolute position and z-index. So I'm going to run you through this. So as I go here, what I'm going to do again, and I'm just going to get this copy it over to this, and I'm just going to paste it. Now I'll run you through what I've done on this copy. So when you drop this copy in, all you need to do is just set this to absolute, and then bring the z-index to 0. Now that is the first element in. Then we're going to drop in our bottle. We have our bottle, and then I'm just going to go bottle front, and we're going to set the width to 150 pixels, and we're going to put this on absolute. Now the one other thing that we want to do is just bring the z-index to 2. Then we are going to drop in our back of the bottle, and same again, bottle back, which I've already got, and it's exactly the same. So it's 150 pixels in width, absolute, and I've done the z-index to 1. So we have text on 0, back of the bottle on 1, and front on 2. And that has now created that layer section. Now, as you can see, we're already starting to build this out quite nicely. It's coming together quite well. Now moving into some of these other elements. So we have the menu button and we have the logo. So let's go into the layers panel. Let's just collapse all of these. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to drop the logo outside of this, and I'm going to set the width to this to 60 pixels. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this logo main, and then we're going to set this to absolute. As we can see, it's now gone behind that content. So what we need to do is we need to just bring this up, and I don't know, we go to like 3, and that will be fine. And then what we're going to do is give it some margin, 60 pixels and 60 pixels. So that is now in there. We're also going to drop another div in, and we're going to call this menu parent 1. I'm going to set the width to 30 pixels. We're going to set the height to 30 pixels. We're going to put this to absolute. We're going to float it over to the right. And again, we're going to space this. Then we're going to space this slightly different, because visually what I'm looking at is I want to align the menu with the center of this logo. So we're going to go down to around 75 pixels, and then we're going to move over the standard 60 pixels that were originally set. And that now visually looks like it's sitting in the middle of this square. Now what we're going to do is we are going to drop in our first div here. We're going to call this menu bar 1. We're going to set the width to 100%. We're going to set the height to 2 pixels. We're also going to set the color to white, and we're also going to add a touch of margin on the bottom. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to Apple C, Apple V, and we're like, oh no, where's it gone? It's actually because we need to set that Z index again. So what I'm going to do is 1, 2, 3, bring it up, and we're here. So now we have built out that quite well. So now we've got this main structure. What we can actually do now is start to build out these other ones. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to collapse all these quickly. We've got our content parent. Now, the reason why when we copy inside here, these sections, we won't actually be able to see them. So what we need to do is just go back to this, and we just need to change this just for the moment so we can build out the rest of this page. And it's quite important you remember going back through this. And there's probably another way that you could do this. You know, at the beginning, you could just probably set this to 300, but then you would need to remember to set it back to 100. So this is just so that now when I go to copy and paste, it drops in that other sections. So now we're building out them sections. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to, on the col right, swap this around. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. So what I need to do is I need to look at these elements. So we've got the image here. And then what we need to do is we need to drop this into that. And then we need to grab that one and we need to drop it into that side. Oh, where did that go? Let's drop it into that side and then just swap the position. So we got to just move around a couple of elements here. So what we need to do is we need to let's just redo that again, because that might have been a little bit confusing. So we've got both of the same elements here, and they're in the same directions, and we need to change that. So what we need to do is we need to grab the image this side, and then we need to move it over to that side. So what we need to do is we need to just drag it and drop it into col right. Now it's there, but what we need to do is we need to get the section 1 right. We then need to move it into the col left and just change the position. So you see when I brought that down, it then flipped it back to where it was. If I move it here, it's now like that. But what we need to do is we just need to move that one there. Now, hopefully that makes sense. And what we're going to do just to make sure that we know where we are is I'm just going to change this one. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to duplicate. And then we're going to call this, it's actually to left because we're on the left side. Yeah. And then what we're going to do with this one is we're going to go, oh, that's the other one. So we need to get this one and we need to duplicate this. We need to call this to right. Now this is where this is obviously why I tried to go through this again twice, because it is a little bit confusing, and what it requires you to do is just move the positions of the divs into the other sections so you can create that alternate view. So hopefully that makes sense. You may have to go over that bit again just to get it right. And this is why we go in and then duplicate the classes, because now we're seeing 1, 2. And it's on the left and on the right, and that will start to make sense to you as you build this out. And then again, what we need to do is we've got the third one, and again, we're just going to copy this. So we're going to go Apple C, Apple V, And we won't have to do so much trickery on this bit because it's exactly the same as the top, and we've already done that. So we want to make sure we copy that first section, Apple V, and then we just need to move it down to the bottom, and we've got that in there, which is great. And then same again, we're just going to duplicate this, and we're going to call it 3 left. Because we're on the right side, we don't have to change the left and rights. Again here, duplicate, 3, and that should be good. Now moving on to the next bit, which is changing the colors. Let's get rid of that. Let's change the colors. The first one's green. Change the bottle. Replace. I think this one was lime. Go over here. Change the image. And another reason for duplicating and changing the classes is so that when we come into here, we can literally just change everything that we need to do, and we haven't got to do combo classes or anything like that. I try not to do so many combo classes. That's just something that I do. Depends how you want to do it, but you could do a combo class, but I would probably just build it out like this. And then the third section, which I need to get the color from. So I'm just going to inspect this quickly. There's my color. Close that. We're going to go here, select this, and then I'm going to boom. And this one was lemon. Lemon. And lemon. Great. And we're going to change the image. Here we go. Image changed. And now we have it. So let's just have a little check. Let's just have a little breather. Let's have a think. It's quite a bit to go through there. And hopefully that was good enough for you guys to understand. So we've got section 1, section 2, and section 3. So what we need to do now is we need to go back to, let's collapse all these, go back to our content parent, and let's just change this back to 100. So now we've got that back to 100. We are good. Now the next bit that I'm going to move on to is the sliding panels. Now I've done this a couple of times and sometimes it's gone well and sometimes it hasn't. So hopefully I have set this up properly. So let's try this. Let's try this. So we're going to go to the body tag. We're going to select the body tag, and I've already got it here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this, and I'm just going to create this again. While page is scrolling is what we need to select. That is the important part. And then we are going to go section, scroll, main. And then what we're going to do is think about how this scroll interaction works, because again, what we've got to do here is a little bit of trickery in positioning of the elements. Because if we look here, right, the left side is actually going up and the right side is going down, which means these elements can't be in this order on the right side. They actually have to be flipped. So going back to Webflow, hopefully that makes sense. We're going to go to the right side, and as you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3. And again, that's why it's really important that we named these classes like this, because all we need to do now with this is reverse the order of these divs. So we go 3, 2, and then 1. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And that means when we go to animate these, the actual bottom is the top, because when you get to the bottom, you'll see that. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, that's why this build is quite tricky, this part. Once we get this bit out of the way, moving on to the rest of the animations should be quite easy. I say should, because you never know what's going to happen. So right, let's go back to the body tag. Let's get the page scroll. And then what we need to do, I'm praying this is going to work. We're going to select Col left. we're going to move. We're going to do 0%. Then when we get to the bottom of the page, we're going to go, let's see. We'll scroll through this and see where we get to the point, and it's going to be 200%. And then what we've got to do is go back, select the right. We're going to move. And all we need to do with this is we need to move it up. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18. There we go. So we're on 200. Now, the reason I'm doing that, just so you can see the elements and how they're moving as we're doing this interaction, because this is a little bit tricky. And then we move, and then obviously that's going to go back to 0. Now we've got that in there, we're just going to select all of these and put them on ease. Now we're not finished now. This is not ready. So what we need to do now is we need to get this content parent and we need to drop it inside of the sticky container. Now what we need to do to content parent, and this is really important now, what we need to do is we need to change this to relative and put it on sticky. And we're going to put this to 0. Now, fingers crossed, I hope this has worked. And then when we scroll, we've got it, as you can see, boom. Right, we've just seen a few things that are moving here. So we've got the logo that's moving and the menu that's moving. So we need to change the position of that. Now that was the tricky bit. We've got that out of the way, and I'm actually sigh of relief myself because I've done this a few times, and just to say I've cocked it up quite a few times as well. So, you know, not everyone's perfect, and these things do take time to get right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the menu parent and I set this to fixed. We could set the logo to fixed as well. On the example, I've left it. I just feel like it was a lot cleaner without having that there. So, you know, this personal preference. It's up to you guys what you decide you want to do with it. Now, what we're going to look at next is this rollover interaction. So we're getting into the interaction part. We've done the tricky bit. I call this the tricky bit because it really is quite uneasy to think of this logic of how you put this page together and how it changes in directions and the columns and the sections and how you build that all out. So that's the hard bit. Now we can hopefully get onto the easier bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the col, and I've just got to look at each section. So we know that section 1, and we've got to look at just to find these sections. So we've got, here we go, section 3 right. So again, we've got a little bit of trickery here to work out what sections we now need to activate this rollover on. So we're going to go section 3 right. We're going to start it on this one. We're going to do a mouse hover, start animation, and then we're going to call this bottle. Ooh. I can't spell. I really can't spell. Bottle. Hover. Over. 1. So we've got that. Then what we need to do is we need to go into this section. We need to get the bottle back. We are going to move this over. We're going to set it on the initial state. We're going to move it over 100 view. I hate when it does that. 100 viewpoint width. Now, the reason I chose viewpoint width, and I know I've said before, use percent. And this is you know, again, I'm just experimenting. I'm trying things out as I start to build things out. You know, these are good exercises for myself as well. So the reason why I chose 100 viewpoint width is that when I was scrolling the browser down and reducing the size of it, I was actually getting parts where I was seeing the bottle come out quite early. And this measurement seemed to have worked quite nicely. So that is the reason why I've used it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move, and we're going to go 0 viewpoint width. Then we're going to look into the easing options, and we're going to use in, out, back, and we're going to put this to 1 second. And let's just have a little look. Boom, it's got a nice little, and then we're going to go to opacity. We're going to drop the opacity down, and we're going to bring the opacity up, and we're going to go ease, and we're going to go 1 second. Now the last little bit of magic that we're going to add to this is a little bit of rotation, and we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 45 degrees. And then when it comes in, rotate, we're going to go 0, and then we're going to do in, out, back, 1 second. Let's just check that. Nice, love it, great. Onto the front, we're going to have to do the same. So we're going to go, starting off, it's already there, so it's 0 viewpoint width. Then we're moving it over. I think it's, yeah, minus 100 viewpoint width. And then we're going to do in, out, back, 1 second. We're going to do the opacity, keep it on 100, remove it when it goes down. Oh, my toolbar. Oh, there's little things that do that. Ease, 1 second. And then do a little bit of magic again with the rotate, and we're going to go the opposite side. 45. Oh, no, we're not going to do 45. We're going to start off at 0, and then we're going to go 45 on the rotate. And 45. I'm doing it really slowly, but yeah. In, out, back, and 1 second. Now let's just check that. Oh, what's going on? Oh, because we're on the wrong section. There you go. So we've just noticed something there. If you have a look, that bottle actually goes off the page. So what we want to do is grab section right, and we just want to go in and put the overflow to hidden. And let's just go back. Yes, now we got it. Now we're good. Sweet, perfect. Now what we want to do is we want to go back into this, and we want to do the out. So the simplest way is duplicate this, select it. We want to go in here. We want to go out. Now, a good rule of thumb with interactions, always remember that this is your initial state. So you want to keep these and you want to delete these. So what we need to do first is just take these off the initial state. Then we need to remember our animation timing. So on the rotate, the move, the rotate, and the move on the front and back, we had in, out, back, and it was 1 second. And then on the opacities, we had an ease, and it was 1 second. And then all we need to do is just select that and delete. And fingers crossed, we're in. There you go. Super. So that's that first animation done quite easily. The next part would be to look at how we create this text. Now, the other thing that I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to add these other rollovers to the other sections. So if we just expand all of these, what we can do is we now can see where the bottles are. So we've got one on there. So we're just going to close all of that. I might have to go back to it. So section 2 left has got bottle front, bottle back. We're going to go in here. We're going to do hover. We're going to select on the start. We're going to do that. We're going to go on the out. We're going to select the same one. Now, because we've selected this all by class, these should all work. They should all work. Let's just check if that second one worked. Beautiful. We're in, we're in, we're in. It's good, it's good, it's looking good. And then we need to find the last one, which is there. I'm going to select the hover, start animation, hover one, start animation, out animation, sorry. And that is it. we're good. Oh, right, okay, so remember we need to go back and set these. So all of these sections that have got the bottle in, we need to make sure that overflow is hidden. Let's just go in, check, yeah, good. Good, right, now that should be us. We're getting there, we're getting there. I feel we're under pressure, this is getting through this. This is it's a lot to remember, and I'm trying to do my best with this. So hopefully this is all making sense. Let's move on to the next bit, which is this text. Now, the animation is done by TweenMax, and what I actually done was I found this snippet on CodePen. Now I'm going to do a tutorial on CodePen and how you can take snippets from there and then implement into your site. You will need to obviously have a varied amount of knowledge in HTML and CSS. So that will definitely be another tutorial that I'm going to look at. So I'm not going to go too much into the detail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the classes and things that you need to link up to this JavaScript. And make sure that it's all right. So let's jump into the project settings. And we're going to go into the custom code. And this is basically the code that I found on CodePen. Now, what we're doing here is we're linking to the main TweenMax file. And you can actually get this file already from their site. They've got already pre-hosted file that you can just dump this in, and then you can start to take code snippets that you find and then change them and tweak them. So we've got a few different classes here. So we've got section 1-1, and then we've got text Annie, and then we've got span. So text Annie is the actual class of the title, and it will be the same because I've copied it over. It may be that this section -1 it needs to change, so we need to go through that and change all of that. Then there's a little bit of tiny CSS in here, and what this CSS is doing, if we look at this animation, now what it's doing is wrapping each individual letter in a span via the JS function, and it's putting each animation on each span. So that is why we're getting this, you know, text, each individual letter coming in, and that's because they're animating individually. And if you actually look at the, if you look there, you can start to see. But if you look in the code and inspect this, look, each individual letter and space is wrapped in a span, and that is how it's animating. It's absolutely crazy. Now, you could create this definitely in Webflow. You could wrap each letter in a span, and then you could animate that. Now that is obviously going to take some time, and the great thing about TweenMax, there's so many really interesting animations that you can create that are a little bit more slicker, a little bit more faster, and they just look really, really good. So that is why you would probably use TweenMax in it, and then there's cases why you might use Webflow. I'm not saying that you can't achieve this in Webflow, you definitely can, but I just think this is a library that has been created for this style of animation and interactions. So getting back into Webflow, so that's the little bit of CSS that we need to add to this, and then we need to just check this class here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the designer. Ding, ding, ding. And we're on this. So I'm just going to quickly look. This is the one that I've built. And I'm just going to look at where this section 1. So what it might be is from an ID. So let's just sticky container, left side col. And it might be this. No. Sorry, guys. I've just got to work out how I did this again. I'm sure there's one that's got an ID on it somewhere to get that section 1. No, where is it? I need to grab this. Is it here? No, it's not there. Strange. So where did I put that? Let me put it on there. Let me put it on there. Ooh. Right, let me just quickly, I'm just going to quickly see if I can find this. So, um, what was that class called? Let's go back into here, project settings. I know this is a bit back and forth, but this is also kind of showing you how I debug things and work things out and kind of doing this on the fly and knowing where I'm going. So let's just, there's no, it's section 1L, right. Let's Apple find, let's just, there we go. It wasn't, it looked like a 1, but it's actually an L. So that was my boo-boo. Let's go back into Designer. I know what I'm doing now. Just needed a time to tweak it in my brain. So we just need to change this section. So it's section 1 left. Let's go back into the code. Oh, let's go here. Section 1 left. So section 1 left. And then we just need to change it everywhere we see it. Now, through this, we've got lots of these classes coming in. So section 1 left. Text Annie is the actual title. So if we go in and inspect this title, see, text Annie, that is the class of that title. So what it is saying is, find me section 1 left, then find me the title, wrap the elements in a span. And then we're going to do the same here, left, left, and then every other one should be text Annie, text Annie. Let's have a look, just look, text Annie, text Annie, text Annie. Boom. Right, that should be it. So let's go back into the designer. Let's go to home to, let's publish. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Yes, beautiful. There we go, we've got it. Boom, lovely. Satisfaction of that working is just like, yes, great. So let's just recap that section. And what we've done is we've targeted the section area, then we've actually targeted the class of this text, and then we've inputted that JS, which is basically doing the rest of the fancy stuff that we want this to do. And it's individually wrapping each element in a span to then create that text effect. So now we are almost at the last hurdle, and that is the menu. And how do we do this menu? And we've got some little load interactions as well that we could look at, and I think we will. Let's just have a little look. So if we go here, so what have we got here? We've got a text on that, and we've got a, so obviously we haven't got our animation on the last one because we took it off now. So let's just go in and do a quick load. Page load. And we're going to call this home load. And we're just going to start grabbing elements. And we're going to go opacity, set that to the initial, bring the opacity down, opacity, ease, another 1 second, mate. Let's grab this, opacity, down, opacity, and then we do ease, 1 second. Probably just do this 0.2. It's this one here that's got to be delayed quite a bit. Opacity, and then we'll go opacity, ease, 1 second, and I'll probably just do this for like 1.5. And then what we need to do is animate this bottle in. Now we need to go back. We're going to expand all of these. We're going to find the first bottle. Just need to check in here. That's lemon. Alt front. That is lime. Let's find all of the other bottles apart from the one that we actually need, which is going to be this one, the bottom one. Orange, whee! So we know that orange is at the bottom. Let's go to page load. Let's go back into the page load. We've got our bottle. All I did with this was I just was like, move it down 100%. We'll put this move 0%, ease 1 second, and I think I did opacity on it as well. So bring the opacity down, opacity again, ease, and 1 second. Can't see it in there. Let's just see how it looks. Let's go back up to the top. Yeah. So what we're going to do, just quickly publish this. Make sure it is all good. Oh, we need to do it on number 2 and 2. Boom. There we go. Super. So we've got our animations in, we've got our rollovers, we've created this scroll. All we're left with is this menu. So we've got through this quite well, and let's move on to the menu. So going back into Webflow, we're going to select this menu. Actually, we're not going to select this menu. What we're going to do is we need to build out the menu first. Might help. So what I'm going to do here is I just need to have a little think. So we've got this sticky container. Now, if we look at the way that this menu is done, we've got it opening now, all right? And that is actually underneath that. So again, we're going to go back to the index. We're going to look at how we do the layering again. So we're going to get sticky container 1, and we're going to bring this up to 2. Bring it up to 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drop in this div. We're going to call this menu parent. We've already got one menu parent. 1. Do you know what I actually might do? I'm going to do this just to save time on this part of the tutorial. I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to grab this menu, and then I'm going to drop it in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through what I've done on this, so we know where we're going. Menu parent, child. Strange. So let's go here. Let's bring this above this. So I've got one div that is containing all of these elements. The width is 100%. The height is 100 viewpoint height. The position is fixed. Then inside we have another div, which is menu child, which is width 100%, height 100%, and I've set this to flex center, and there's no changes on that. So basically we have a parent div and then a div that's inside that is containing this, which is set to flex, and then we have this child div which is containing all of the rest of the elements. So in this here we just have it's on display flex. We've set the width to 70%, the height to 60%. And then going in here, all we've done is done exactly the same as what we did on the start. We've done it as 2 columns. We have a left and right column, and then we've basically just dropped our content in. I think these columns, each one will be on relative. Height is 100%. Obviously, they will be on expand to get your 2 columns. And then these have just been positioned absolute, these 2 elements, one to the top left and one to the bottom left. And then over to the menu, the menu has been created in a list, and then each one has the link inside. So that is the menu. And I thought it would probably be best just for me to just dump this in, because I'm sure you guys know how to build a menu, and you know, this is how I put together this menu for this. So what we're going to do now, excuse me, is we're going to set this behind. So now that is behind that element. So basically we have the sticky container, which is holding all of our content, all of our homepage design, and then the menu behind it. And now we can select the menu button. So the first thing that we're going to do is the interaction of the mouse changing and closing and opening. Do that little movement. So let's grab this. We'll start animation. We're going to do the first click. We're going to call this menu click. Menu click. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the top bar. We're going to move. We're going to set the initial to 0 pixels. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move it. We're going to move it down 6 to oh, almost forgot. Let's go back. So what we need to do is we need to select this menu bar. We need to change it from class to selected element. That's quite important, actually. So yeah, we need to do that because we're animating both of the bars, and they both obviously got the same class. So we need to do it by selected element and not class. So then we need to just move this top one down by 6 pixels. And we do it as an ease. Then we select this one. We move, take it off class, selected element, 0 pixels, move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let's just, so that's the first bit, which is great. Then what we're going to do is we're going to just do this after this element is finished. We're going to rotate 1, 2, 3, 4. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 45. We select ease. Let's have a look to see if that's working. 45 looks good. Select the other one. We want to do a rotate again. We need to just get this off and put it onto that one. And we need to go the opposite side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Let's just put that on ease. Have a little check. Nice. Could make it a bit more snappier. Let's just have a little quick look. It's kind of a bit more snappier. So let's just grab all of these, put it to 3. Yeah, there we go. It's a lot nicer. And then what we need to do here is we need to select one of the menu bars, BG color. First it starts off white, then it goes to black. So let's go here, BG color, black, ease, grab the other one, BG color, white, this one, oh, what is that? BG color, black, and ease. Let's just check. Beautiful. Now that is what we're talking about. Let's just test it out live to see what it looks like. Let's just make sure we're all good. Boom. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So we've got that click interaction working on the bars, the menu bars. That is working really nicely. Now what we need to do is look at how we get this open and close effect. Now it's going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be similar to how we built out the page. So what we need to do is we need to grab the left section. We're going to move. we're going to set this to 0%, and then we're going to move it out 100%. All right, so that's the first bit. We're going to do it on an ease. We're going to select the right, and we're going to do the same. We're going to go to move, 0%, and then we're going to move this out the opposite direction, 100%. Boom, we're in. We're good. It's happening. Let's just have a little check. Beautiful. So now what we need to do is we need to animate this in, this menu bit. We faded it in and out. So if we go to the example, if we look, fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out. So simply what we're doing here is we're just going to grab another element. So let's go into the menu, parent, and that's the element that we need to fade in and out. Let's get rid of that. And right, so opacity starts off at 0. Opacity, ease, 1 second. So that's that first bit. Let's just check this. Right, so we've got an issue with the menu bar. That's actually taking too long. So what I'm going to do is actually just drop this on, and then I'm going to delay it by 0.6. Let's just see if that makes a difference. Yeah, I think that was good. Let's just check again. Boom. I'm happy with that. Now there's one thing here. Because we're animating the left and the right columns, these divs are still there. Now, the issue that we've got, now let me just publish this, because what I'm going to do is show you the issue that we've got here now. So when I actually open this, all right, we'll open this, I can't select any of these links. And the reason for that is because them two divs that are containing the left and right are actually still here. So we're going to do a little bit of trickery to get rid of this. This is a slightly more complex technique that is used, and it's a really good one when you start to animate certain elements out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this, and we're going to select the sticky container, which is the whole thing, which is containing all of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to do hide and show. Now the initial state is a show. And then when we click this button, we actually want it to hide. So I'm going to select this to hide. Now what we need to do is we need to delay this, because we don't want this to happen straight away. Otherwise, everything's going to clip out straight away. And we're like, well, what's going on? Actually, let's just show you that. Boom. It was like, whoa, where did that all go? So that is why it's really important that when you do this hide and show, you delay this. Let's try again. Boom. And now we can get at our links. Really cool little trick, that one. And it just works. So remember that, but you've got to delay. You've got to delay that hide and show, because if you do it straight away, your animations won't activate, because it's telling it remove it, and it removes and it goes. So that is that part done. Now we're going to do on the second click, start animation, duplicate again, menu click, select it. Now again, as we remember, we need to do all of these elements. So we need to make a couple of changes. So let's just get this right. So on the sticky container, what we need to do is we need to change this to Yeah, we need to keep it as it is, which is great. Let's just take all of these off the initial state. We're all on an, I think it was all on an ease. What we've got here is we've got the rotates. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete these. Let's delete these. So I've taken them all off the initial state. I've set them to ease. Let's just check how this is looking. Right, okay. So we've got some issues there with that rotate. So what we need to do is I'm just going to Apple Z, and we've got these two rotates. So what I'm going to do with these rotates is I'm going to set them there, and then I'm going to delete these now. I'm going to take, yeah, they're off. Let's just try that now and see. Right, it's still not working. Now I'm just thinking, actually, I think what we might have done, let's just delete that. Let's go back and refresh. So let's just go here. This rotate, let's go and set it as the rotate position on 0. I definitely think that is why we have got that. And then select the other rotate, 0. And let's just check that we haven't broke anything. Right, which is good. Now this should be right. We just need to go back and duplicate, select it. We've got our rotates here. And what we're going to have to do with these rotates, I don't know if we're going to have to delay them or not, but let's just go like that. Take them off the initial state. Get rid of all of these. They don't work. And let's just see how that looks. One. Right, okay. So that's working now. But what we need to do is we need to think about this process. So it needs to rotate them back first. It needs to rotate them back first and then move. But at the moment, we've got the move and rotate all happening in one motion. So if we just go back to 0.2, these are all, let's make sure that they're all on ease. Oh, ease, come on. And then I do remember that the menu bars were on like a 0.4, weren't they? Or was it a 0.3? I think it might have been 0.3. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's just see if that made a difference. No. So the rotate, let's just put it on. Oh no, now I've got it. Now I've got it. Right, all of these elements need to go after the rotate. 1, 2, yes, beautiful. Great, okay, that was it. So what it was just working out that logic of reversing that animation. So the rotate was the first part that needed to happen, and then it was rest of all the other elements. And I think we could probably just slow this down a little bit more and just have a little look. And there we go. We've done it. Hopefully that made sense. There's a lot in there, and I reckon, you know, you'll probably need to go over this a couple of times. Let's just have another quick recap on the menu button just to make sure. So we've got our moves and rotates, as well as our background colors changing on the open and close. We're also hiding that sticky content parent so we can actually get to that navigation that is underneath the elements. And then also on the second click, we're basically reversing the order of that to be able to then create that animation. And there you go. We've built out this really interesting homepage. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. I've tried to go through this as best as possible. There is some complex elements inside of this, but it's just about getting your head around this logic and how you build out certain things like this. This came from an example that I actually see, and I just looked at it and I just automatically understood how I could build this in Webflow. But trying to talk about it and trying to show you guys is a different story in itself. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, please subscribe, hit the like button, and I really look forward to showing you guys some more stuff, and see you soon.